Okay, good morning, everyone. Boker Tov, Bruchim Aboim. Welcome. I hope you had a beautiful and wonderful Shavuos. We are excited to be back together. Thank God the Kollel has some phenomenal, uplifting, inspiring, amazing opportunities for learning. For this week, please God, tonight, this afternoon, it's really an amazing opportunity. We thank our women's division, our Neely group, for putting together the GNOL, our high school event against Yachad. We have our Robinson team for all the kids, boys and girls who have been learning. We thank Ami and Aviva for sponsoring this amazing initiative once again in honor of their son, Tani. We have a very special new series that's beginning this week. We're inviting world-class physicians who are also halachic experts to join us. So this week we have the go-to person, I would say, in the coronavirus for questions, at least in the RCA community. Rabbi Dr. Aaron Glad will be joining us. And then we also have our special Siyum. We have our special Siyum Mishnayos that's taking place for those who are learning Mishnah Yomi. We'll be joined this week, Thursday night, live with Rav Hershel Schachter Shlita by Rebbe. So we're very grateful to everybody for participating. We invite you all to join us this week. And this morning, we have some very special guests, wonderful individuals who are coming to share their insight, their thoughts, and their chizuk for our Chicago Jewish community. And we're going to go first to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. We thank him for the time. We welcome him. We're excited to spend some time. I don't know if everyone could see him right now yet or not. Rabbi Doron Peretz, Rav Doron, can you hear me and see me?
You can see me?
Yes, I see you. Beautiful. Good morning.
Nice
good morning. How are you? How are things in Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh? Are you in Yerushalayim or you're home right now?
At home. I've been in Yerushalayim the whole day, but I just made it home 3 minutes ago, just for this interview. And thank you for bringing me home early. And I have been in Yerushalayim the whole day, and it's beautiful, beautiful weather. Things slowly, like starting to get, not quite there, but life is starting to return to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh, and yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it's actually like out there? What do the streets feel like? Are there buses? Are there people? What's going on now?
It's not quite back to normal, even though technically speaking, businesses are open and the malls are open and schools are open. People, there's still a lot of people unemployed in Israel, and therefore, the ride into Yerushalayim at peak hour traffic took much quicker than usual, and the streets are still pretty empty. I had a meeting at the Knesset today, and the parking lot for the Knesset. Firstly, the Sunday at the Knesset is generally not a very busy day. It wasn't particularly busy, but the place that one parks if one goes to a meeting at the Knesset is at the Cinematheque. There's something called Cinema City. I don't know if you know the parking lot of Cinema City, right by the Supreme Court. And I must say, so many of the shops were still closed. The restaurants, even though they can officially be open, are not all quite opening yet. In the coffee shops, because they financially can't afford to open yet because it's open on such a limited basis. So there's no question that things are, so to speak, opening up, but it's slow. It's slow.
Got it. Because it's hard for us to gauge, when you read in the media, it's hard to know what is actually happening on the ground in Israel, practically.
I'll give you an example over Shabbos. So even though technically speaking, the shuls are open and you can have up to 70 people in a minyan, but a lot of people are still davening in their street minyanim. The houses in Israel are generally a lot closer together than in other countries. We live in Yad Binyamin, a lovely town, a little village here, and I must say, in every little cul-de-sac, there's a minyan, and most of the street minyanim are continuing because people know there's a limited amount of people at the minyanim. You have to register in advance, so it's still. And even though Shavuot is such a busy time, limited people who could participate in the Tikkun Leil Shiurim and lots of little Shiurim all over the place. So it's interesting. It's in between. It's in between. It's getting back to normal, but. And I must say, it's interesting. People are not in a rush to leave their neighborhood and shchuna minyanim. They've really been people got so used to it. So it's interesting. It's getting back to it, but it's light.
Thank you. It's beautiful that you're sharing that, because we've always been, our Kollel and our community in Chicago, as you well know, has always been very connected to Israel through our partnership with Torah Mitzion, with Mizrahi, with Bnei Akiva, with Mosheva. So many of these connections, and it's a challenge because for a lot of people, not being able to travel to Israel is a challenge. We have families in the community whose children are getting married, or kids were supposed to go to summer camp, or visiting, or being. So this kesher is very important to us to feel connected. So thank you for giving us that little tom of the Avira Da'ara. It's great. It's just, I love Yad Binyamin. It's beautiful. So for those who don't know, Rav Doron has been revolutionizing, and there's no other way to put it, the World Mizrahi Organization, which we all know was founded over 100 years ago. At that time, when Rav Reines and others founded the Mizrahi, it was forward-thinking, and at the beginning of the Zionist movement, at the turn of the 20th century in 1903, and now, Baruch Hashem, we look at it so many years later, and we're looking at a very different landscape. In many ways, there's been tremendous progress. In many ways, there are obviously, of course, some challenges, as we're all aware. And you have taken the last couple of years, you've taken the Mizrahi organization and totally transformed it and taken it to a new level. So maybe share with us just a little bit, for those who aren't familiar with some of the amazing things. I know many of us have been participating. Let's say we in Chicago participated through the RZC and the Kollel with the Mizrahi's Yom Yerushalayim program in the evening. Some people saw some of the shiurim, the nonstop, all day, every day, amazing stuff. But maybe take a step back before the pandemic of what has been happening in the Mizrahi that you could share with us.
The very kind words, especially coming from you. I greatly appreciate them, and thank you very, very much. It's very kind of you. For me, I come from a diaspora community, and therefore, I was rabbi of a community in South Africa for many years, and head of a school and head of the local Mizrahi, and that influenced my view on what World Mizrahi should be doing. To be honest, I was very frustrated with World Mizrahi because I was a person who was involved in building religious Zionism in its institutions in South Africa, and I didn't feel that World Mizrahi was particularly invested in what I was doing. They were dealing with the things that they were dealing with, and every 5 years there would be an election and they would approach us to get involved. But I didn't quite understand how all of this helped me, not me personally, me in terms of the institutions that I was trying to build, the schools, the youth movements, the shuls, the kollel. We also had a kollel there, also founded by Torah Mitzion that Mizrahi brought. And I think for me, Rab Ruvain, the big change for me, and this is what brought me back to the position in Israel, was instead of, I felt that World Mizrahi and the Mizrahi movement would always view the diaspora as a place where people should either make aliyah from, which of course we all believe in, and where people should contribute money, but didn't always feel the reciprocal responsibility, meaning what should we in Israel be doing to make a difference to the lives of our communities in Chutz La'aretz, not in order to get money from them and get them to make aliyah, as much as we believe in both of those things, but what is our vision? And I always felt that was a shortcoming. And I felt as long as the Mizrahi movement in Israel was only focused on what goes on in Israel, then we were not taking enough responsibility and feeling a sense of camaraderie with our with our communities in Chutz La'aretz. And I think for me, the biggest change came, it's actually a line that I heard from Naftali Bennett, and I love this line. I don't know if he made it up or he quoted it from somewhere, but I love this line. And for me, this is what guides us at Mizrahi. He said, for the first 70 years of Israel, Israel was the project of the Jewish people. He said, now, the next 70 years, the Jewish people should be the project of the state of Israel. Meaning, as you said correctly, the world's changed since Rabbi Reines' time. The world's changed since 1948. The sense of the Jewish people, we're even seeing it through the Corona crisis. Israel today has 6.7 million Jews. It's a community with, it's a huge community. It's the heart and of the Jewish world. And Israel needs to see itself more and more as in a deep sense, responsible for, not in a patronizing way, but a sense of arvut. And how can we, without the diaspora communities, there would not have been a state of Israel. And there are 1,000,001 stories to verify that. Right now, with so many dwindling communities around the world in many places, and growing needs of all the needs that diaspora communities face, what is the largest Jewish community in the world, and the center for that matter, Zion Yerushalayim, how does it see itself responsible? And for me, that was the turning point. And everything we do, and which we could talk about all the different programs, out of this mindset. How do we serve the communities around them? How can we make a difference in the lives of the communities? What are the issues facing our modern Orthodox religious Zionist communities? And are we in Israel, as World Mizrahi, relevant? And if we're not relevant, and we're not on the same page, then what right do we have to call ourselves World Mizrahi? We should change ourselves to Israel Mizrahi. So I think it's a question of service and trying to reinvigorate a movement to be relevant and serve the communities around the world. And that's the shift that we've begun to try and initiate in order to cater to that mindset.
It's beautiful, and we certainly feel that here with the speakers through Israel 360. For those who don't know, Kishanim Kitikunam, you could say, we would have in-person speakers and just the beautiful pamphlets that we have that are adorning the shuls with the different Torah, and there's lots of different kinds of programs. We definitely feel that there is that kesha, there is that interest in reaching out. How have you found? We've seen a lot of the online things. One of the things that we balance here locally in Chicago with the Kollel and the community is, using the resources of the world, the international resources that are available now, just like this conversation, but also being focused locally. How have you found this pandemic, which of course we're sensitive and acutely aware, and Daven Rebbe will give a refuah and Yeshua to all those who need it, but how have you found this enabling Mizrahi to reach even more people, which I suspect in many ways an organization like World Mizrahi has been able to capitalize on in bringing Torah to people and making people feel connected in that way?
We understood very quickly that at the end of the day, there was going to be an extended period, which we obviously hope would be as short as possible, where people, unfortunately, all over the world were stuck in their homes and couldn't participate in their shuls and community structures, etc. And therefore, with all the tremendous challenge of that, was really an opportunity through the blessing of the internet, the fact that we all, interconnected in the way that we are. So there's an opportunity there to provide to people, and especially, as you said, Rav Ruvain, to communities who feel so deeply connected to Israel and are now disconnected from Israel, and many people so disconnected that they couldn't travel to Israel or have the regular interaction, and certain shlichim returning. So we felt it our responsibility to be able to, as a movement aspiring to be a global movement and trying to make a difference, how could we, in all the days thereafter, Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaAtzmaut, Lag BaOmer, Yom Yerushalayim, how could we provide something? And really what it did was it pulled down all of the borders. It was no longer about institution and bricks and mortar, but it was about, connecting people. And that essentially was where we shifted. We created this thing called the Mizrahi World Beit Midrash. And really all it was a platform to try and bring some of the best speakers and Rabbonim and thought leaders and musicians. And, we had this one-on-one with Alan Dershowitz and just try and really create a platform where people can connect to all over the world. And all of a sudden, communities around the world had access via Zoom and, to speakers that they wouldn't otherwise have had. So we thought, let's capitalize on that. And especially since, of course, between Pesach and Shavuot is, as I said, all the modern days from Yom HaShoah to Yom. So those were opportune times to try and really, whatever we could do to connect, and all the and all the videos we previously put together, and whatever we could do in a multi sort of audio-visual, multifaceted way, present those to the world. It was a great opportunity, and hence we tried to capitalize on that.
Well, we certainly appreciate it here. I could even tell you from a Kollel standpoint, because we worked hard to create meaningful opportunities here locally, because we have, thank God, the bandwidth and the Kollel team and the talent. But I could tell you that we still continue to use, we are always putting together programs for local schools, and we are still using the year's worth of materials that Rabbi Gimpel and others at Mizrahi, of videos that you have shared with us over the years. We're continuing to use those in schools and in other programs that we're running. So the material, it's going, and we're continuing to use it. So we thank you for that. And we just wish you a ton of hatzlacha and continue to be safe and healthy, and to be machazik the communities, especially, I would say, thinking about, the other. A lot of coronavirus is about thinking about the other. Baruch Hashem, in Chicago, we're blessed with a massive community with the tremendous resources, Baruch Hashem. But there are smaller communities that aren't. I had a chance this past week to connect with Rabbi Moshe Rubin in Glasgow in Scotland. And that doesn't have the same resources. And I think these programs that you're providing, they're a benefit to us in the larger communities, but they're especially beautiful and sweet, especially I think for the smaller communities. So kol hakavod.
Also, just to say on a note of Chicago, of course, your kollel. In my first trip to Chicago, it was around Purim, and I was at your kollel dinner about 5 years ago, and I was so taken with the kollel and you, and I was so moved by being present at that dinner, and I could see the incredible work that you and the kollel are doing in Chicago to keep up the amazing work. Of course, we've got our Mizrahi, of course, Rav Eleni Matenki playing a role, not only in the school, but all the RCA and the national board, and of course, Rav Jerry Eisenberg running the RZC, and so many, Oren Leskin, so many wonderful people making a difference. And shkoyach to you for the work of the kollel and all our friends over there. You do an unbelievable job, and it's an honor to be part of this
Thank you.
conversation. Hopefully to continue working together. Thank you.
Amen. So kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time. Be matzliach. Stay well. All of our love to Eretz Yisrael. Great to see you.
And all the best. Shabbat tov. Thank you.
Kol tov. Bye-bye.
Kol tov, kol tov. Bye,
Thank
bye,
you,
bye,
Rav
bye.
Doron. Always great
Pleasure.
to see you. Our next guest this morning joining us live from Hollywood, Florida. Rabbi Rebbitzin, can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay, I can't hear you yet. Let's see. Let's see, are you muted? You are unmuted. Let me hear you. Can I hear you?
Yes.
We're happy to be here.
Welcome to Chicago. First of all, I'm not Makana at all. If I could take you outside, you would see it's 75 degrees and it's sunny. It's like that all year long here in Chicago. So just, if you're ever looking to come for a getaway in the wintertime and you want, a change of scenery from Hollywood, for those who do not know, Rabbi Davis was the Mora d'Asra for a very, very long time. He's been in the rabbinate for many years. I would say, I think a personal connection, one of the great schuyos I've had of having this program to connect with so many people is the personal connections to each one. Before I was even born, when my father was in the JAG, when he was stationed in Virginia, coming to the shul, right? That's the Bekias, I know that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think your brother was my Moel. That I don't remember, but if I'm not mistaken, at that time.
He's left-handed. I don't know. It's a telling tale.
And so you've been in Hollywood, Florida for many, many years now as the Rav, now as Rabbi Emeritus, and the Rebbitzin Davis, you have been leading YU's program, the CJF's project in support of Rebbitzins. So even though my wife is a retired Rebbitzin, because now I'm not in the rabbinate anymore, I'm just learning in Ekolo, but she still gets the emails and the resources and the things that you're doing. It's just really phenomenal. So first of all, thank you both. Kol hakavod. I hope you guys are doing well. How's your family? How are your kids? Everybody, everybody's okay?
They're terrific.
You're Zooming all over the place. Everybody's in their different locations. So how do you stay in touch with everyone?
It's a real trial, but we'll get there. It's very time consuming for 9 kids and Baruch Hashem, 34 grandchildren. So
have you done a full family Zoom yet of all the Davis family together?
We did 2 of them. One was a week before Pesach, because they surprised us with a beautiful Haggadah they put together, which they were going to present us. And since we usually have everyone here, not our kids in Israel, they stay in Israel, but the ones in America, plus all of my siblings for sure, because my parents, Aleim Shalom, lived with us for so long. So one of my nieces put together a most incredible booklet of memories of all. They were all supposed to come again this year. We were prepared for 40-something people. And they did that, and they surprised us with the Zoom. And it felt like once the Zoom was, we were sitting there ready to make chicken soup for Yontif. We felt like Pesach was over, like it had happened after the Zoom. And then on Chol HaMoed Pesach, we did one just for all of our children and grandchildren, and it was just spectacular. Baruch Hashem. Between
That's
Israel,
beautiful.
it was supper in Israel, it was lunch in America.
That's awesome.
We did a mock Seder.
Okay.
It was very, with low expectations, it was really terrific.
That's awesome. So maybe Bershus the Rav, we can ask the Rebbitzin. Rebbitzin, could you talk a little bit first about, in general, what it is that you're providing for the Rebbitzins of the communities during this time? Because for many rabbis, and especially their families, it's such an extraordinarily challenging time. What have you heard from Rebbitzins? What are they saying, and what's happening out there from the Rebbitzin standpoint?
What is happening out there? And fortunately, most of our means of connection, of communication have been in place. So last summer, I started a WhatsApp group for the women who come to our annual conference. They're more on the younger side because the group was started by the rabbis. Yarchei Kala was started by CJF with Rabbi Dr. Jacob J. Schachter, running the program for the men. And then it was decided that the women, the wives of these men, should also have some kind of connection and programming. And that's how we started. So we've had, I've been there like 12 years. We've had a conference every year. And as an outcome of the conference last summer, I decided to start a WhatsApp group for the women. And it proved to be the most valuable tool now during the COVID-19 crisis. The women are exchanging between hardships and ideas and chizuk for each other, and letting each other know about programs that are available. Zoom, you can Zoom Yamam V'Layla and never ever sleep and still not have everything. So that has been a wonderful, wonderful means of connection. And in terms of actual programming, we've had 5 webinars specifically for the Rebbitzins, including a lot of mental health stuff, because that's the biggest challenge, I think, for everyone, Rebbitzin or not. That's the biggest challenge right now, between all the concerns and anxieties that people have about everything. And we've had on like a Rebbitzin, Pesci Newberger, and Rabbi Schachter's wife, Yocheved Schachter, who's a very beloved speaker, however she appears, for the men, for the women, and who've given wonderful ASIS and the best you should do, how to set your priorities, keep yourself healthy and all that. Dr. Pelkovitz contributed. Anything he says is unbelievable anyway, but so on target. One of the Rebbitzins, she couldn't stay on for the whole webinar and everything was recorded. So, and there are many, many young women with little kids. One of them, she called me afterwards and she said, Meira, it was unbelievable. I was having such an issue with one of my kids at bedtime, and he had just discussed that issue on the webinar. She says, and it was like unbelievable. I went and like my problem was solved. It really worked what he suggested. And other people said stuff like that. Rabbi Weinrib. We also partnered with Adina Schmidman, who does the Women's Initiative of the OU. That's another beautiful piece of this whole time, that everyone's trying to partner with everybody else, share their resources. It's such, with the Ishachad B'Kalevach, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. And so Rabbi Weinrib spoke about grief and loss. And also we had Dr. Naomi Greenblatt, who's a reproductive psychiatrist. She was honed in so clearly on the issues of mikvah. This was the week before Pesach, when everything was hopping. So many Rebbitzins like myself have gotten questions from women in the congregation. I'm afraid to go to the mikveh. Is it safe? This was before some of the protocols came out. So it was just so much chizuk that came out of it. And Rebbitzin Abby Lerner, who was just Mrs. Chizuk herself, such beautiful thoughts to share, which really, really empowered the women. And I don't know if I'm leaving anything else, but that's a sample. It was just very,
Amazing.
very wonderful. And makes us one community also.
Yeah. Rabbi, what are you, now that you are in a different role in the shul, what are you seeing and hearing from Balabatim, who you know from years past, based on this? Like, how do you see different things based on this? Although, or you could be on the golf course right now. You don't need to be.
I took a part-time job. I'm the Rav of a Sephardi minyan in my own shul.
Got it.
It's a part-time job, but I do a Zoom mincha and arvit every evening, and we are continuing that.
I was not able to eat rice on Pesach. I've been a vegan for 30-something years, and I still can't. 2 Sephardi sons of mine and a rabbi of a Sephardi minyan, no rice.
They asked me, my children asked me, can we eat kitniot on Pesach? I said, you can eat kitniot on Rosh Hashanah. So get off it. But everything has gone well. I keep myself very, very active. I write Divrei Torah and Parsha questions each week. And I have in the bulletin, I have a column on facts I discovered while looking up other things, which is novel ideas in history, mostly Jewish history. But people, I get the out of the box questions from Balabatim, but it's the same kind of a thing. You're dealing with chizuk, you're dealing with normal life, and you're trying to get people to realize that even in isolation, you make a life for yourself. You have to keep a sense of humor. You have to have a schedule. You have to have activities. You know, Natan Sharansky spoke about it in Hebrew, and he was great. He said in Hebrew, he said, if you want to know about isolation, I'm an expert on isolation. I was in isolation for 9 years in Russian prison, and most of those years I was in isolation. And you have to stay active. You have to have a sense of humor. He used to play chess in his head, but we don't have to go and resort to those kinds of efforts. but it's very important to stay very active. We are blessed in Hollywood, Florida, because it's 75 degrees every day. And it's a great place to take a walk. I'm working on my Corona suntan. It works. It works. You have to keep yourself very active, and people are doing it. You know,
Beautiful.
it's really okay.
That's great.
There's something else too, Annette. Since this whole episode began, I've been in contact. I've been writing I have 300 Rebbitzins in my network, and I've written each of them, like, how are you doing? And the responses have been very, very interesting. I mean, they're dealing with all the same stresses that other women their age are dealing with having a house full of kids and trying to help them with their Zoom, plus and they all have jobs as well, their own jobs, trying to help their husbands with the community and the feelings of inadequacy that somehow they can't do it all and they feel like it's hard. But and a lot of gratitude is expressed, and depending on which communities they're from, the Northeast, where some communities were really decimated and devastated with so much illness, where the rabbis and rebbitzins themselves have gotten sick. I have many of those also. The responses are different, but there were two responses that stood out in their humor, which really defined it for me. One rebbitzin wrote me, I have to read exactly what she wrote. Some days it feels like I sit around all day and do nothing but miss Zoom calls because I can't keep track of what time they are and what time it is. There's just so much going on. And just the other day, someone I know a long time, she wrote me, it's certainly different to be home with the kids all day, but I'm not losing as much of my mind as I thought I would. So, I mean, it's the reality for everyone. But the women, like Avital Goldschmidt is also in our group. She wrote a beautiful piece for the forward about living in Manhattan. We're in a community with a lot of deaths where her young husband is going out every day to do funerals, and her own fear about what's he touching, and everything, the fear for the health of the family. And that's leaving out those who are in healthcare, because many of the Rebbitzins also are in healthcare positions, PTs, OTs, doctors. But they're an amazing group of women. They want, for anyone who's listening, if your Rebbitzin isn't doing everything you feel that she should be doing, cut her a lot of slack. She cares a lot. She's feeling bad about what she can't do. She has so much gratitude to Hashem for what she can do. And she wants the best for everybody. And I know many of them are going out on Shabbos and trying to knock on people's doors and visit and show that they care or deliver stuff before Shabbos. But like Ein Davar Sof, it's just, so many of them have large families themselves. But
a message from all the professionals that she had speaking on these programs: take care of yourself and your family first, then worry about the community. And it's very good advice and very solid.
Like the airplane that takes you first you need your own. Everyone's used that already, but it's true.
So maybe what is something, I guess, that just on that note, I was going to say, what is it that's something that people should realize? Obviously, every community is different and every Rebbitzin is different, and different ones have different strengths and different interests. But what is it that people should realize that is going on in the lives of their Rebbitzins, or what can people do to be mechazik their Rebbitzins? Because it's such a complicated role that they have.
Funny, because they're all asking me, what can we do to be more mechazik to our congregants? And I think even just acknowledging, it's really just acknowledging that I know must be so tough for you with all your kids and no childcare, no housework help or anything like that. And it must be so hard. I just want you to know I'm thinking of you. If there's anything I can do in any way, I mean, usually it's the rabbis and rebbitzins and the shuls now, like our shul sent out for Shavuos, sent out meals for singles, people living alone, and for older people. But there's nothing, people dropped off for us. They dropped off a little package of something, a little cheesecake or something, just a thought. It's the thought that counts. That's the most important thing. You probably can't do a whole lot as long as you can't take the kids for a day, but you can't do that. But the thought is the most important thing. Show that you care. Everyone could do that for everybody, not just to the rabbis and rabbis. But sometimes, like you say, acknowledging that it may be more stressful for someone who feels that they're supposed to be caring for you and they're really not able to do what they would like to know that I know you're thinking of me, we're thinking of you, we love you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you both for joining. Thank you for taking the time, and especially Rebbitzin for making us aware of this part of our community, this part of our lives that maybe sometimes we take for granted, and being machazik us and our Rebbitzins, and wish you both good health, gesund, nachas from the kids. Great to see you. Hopefully I'll see you again soon in person.
Amen.
Amen.
But with the
You
connections,
too.
connections between our family, Baruch Hashem.
Yes.
I love that when I watched your show. I told you to seeing your parents, who I haven't seen in a long time, and your in-laws, who we love so much, and your whole beautiful family. I've never met any of them in person.
B'li ayin hara. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much.
So up to you, and much.
Be well. Okay, our last guest this morning is someone who is very dear to me for many years. Rabbi Howard, can you see us? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay, I don't hear you yet. 1 second, because you're muted.
How's that?
Perfect. So it's been, let's say, over 30 years. 30 years. I was a little boy, and I used to go on Friday night to a small shul. The Rav of that shul was the most warm, friendly, caring. He just radiated sunshine. And on Friday nights, we used to go daven in this small shul. And then when he passed away, when he started to before he passed away, we started to move on, the shul was taken over by an unbelievably young and dynamic and talented, now he has a little bit more gray hair, I could see from the Zoom. But at that time, when Rabbi Howard became the rabbi of B'nai Jacob, which then became B'nai Jacob Shari Zion in Baltimore, he had a profound influence on the entire community. And even though now he's transitioning, so to speak, out of the more direct Baltimore Jewish community to be the incoming executive vice president of the Orthodox Union, which is an incredibly important role in Klal Yisrael. But he's somebody who I have had the privilege of benefiting from his warmth and his wisdom for so many, many years. And it sometimes even at unusual pivotal points, even just the time that we spent before my wedding and the time that you spent with our family, and having the opportunity to welcome you now to Chicago without you having to leave the office is terrific. And so we thank you. I hope that Mindy is well, and the children, everybody is okay. How's the family?
Baruch Hashem, we're all well, and it's the feelings of warmth go both ways, and as well, just knowing what you have and continue to accomplish in Chicago, the growth of Torah which you have created through the kollel and through everything that you do, and the impact that you have is beautiful, magnificent, and Ken Yirba.
Amen. Thank you. So Rabbi Howard now, for those who know, is the incoming executive vice president of the Orthodox Union, which is one of the most significant contributions to the American Jewish scene in terms of representing our community, our Kehillah. Most notably, recently, he had a get-together with Dr. Anthony Fauci to talk about reopening shuls. And maybe could you share with us a little bit about what it's like to transition from being a local community Rav for the local Balabatim to becoming a Rav who represents and deals with global, not just national, but really global issues. So how has that transition been? Are you still, you're still dealing a little bit locally with some of the Balabatim, or you're really now focused, and what is that like?
It's a good question. It's a good question, and the transition is a challenge in the sense that I think that the Orthodox Union, B'dafka specifically, wanted to have someone who came to it as a Rav. Being thrust, as you said, into this position at this difficult time, as Rabbonim everywhere are working and struggling to figure out how to manage the transition, how to make these decisions. So, I think it's very helpful to me being in this position that I come from that perspective. I'm still really just a Rav of a shul, and trying to be, work with chaverim, with colleagues and peers who are facing the same kinds of challenges, one by one in their shuls and in their kehillos. The concern which I have and had always about this, about taking on this position, is to become part of a national organization and to lose touch with what's really happening on the communal level. one of the things which is a fundamental of how we hope to move forward in this is the recognition that while there's a role for national initiative and national representation, but the real arena of effect and change, which happens for every person, is very local. It's very much in the community that when things are normal, Be'ezus Hashem, they show up there, they're part of it, they see their rabbi, they see their rebbitzin, they see the members of their community. It's the real human interaction that, that does it, that's where things are accomplished. And the best that we can do on a national level, really, is to try to help and to support communities one by one in doing it. So, being in the transitional space is very, 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 very significant. And I hope really never to leave that space. I had to give up my shul as being the full-time Rav of the shul because the level of time commitment to the Orthodox Union is such that starting Motzei Shabbos with Havdalah till late Shabbos is not enough. It's not enough time, without sleep hardly. It's just not enough time. And a shul deserves to have a Rav who's living and breathing the issues and the needs of the individual members. And I'm not in a position to do both of those things at the same time. But this morning I gave the daf still to my chevra. And we learned also, I gave a shir to the chevra. I just finished just now, I'm hoarse, just gave a chabur and sefer mitzvahs to the chevra. You still have to be someone who learns Torah and who, the Torah is the source for everything that you do, and to be able to interact and to connect, because otherwise it becomes some Manhattan concern that I can't, what I mean is the business part, not the community part, which will not serve the Union of Orthodox Jewish Congregations of America.
It's great to be able to welcome you here now, especially as you mentioned, serving the community. So hopefully we'll have the chance to see you in person as you're going to develop relationships with those kahilas. So as you mentioned, being in this transitional time during an literally unprecedented pandemic, has anything come your way that even in your wildest dreams, you could never have imagined how crazy this Nakuda or this Inyan, how unexpected, I'm sure that list is very long. Maybe you want to share
the whole thing.
Any specifics? I mean, I guess the Fauci conversation that's got to be one of the top. Like the kids came home one day and they were like, "What? You hung out with who?" Like, what are some of the very unusual, exciting things that are happening?
The Fauci conversation is interesting because before it happened, I didn't think it was going to be such a big deal. I thought maybe it was going to be like, someone set it up, said, it's going to be like but he's a very fine person, as came across in the interview, and we were able to have a really meaningful, substantive conversation. And he gave real guidance. And it was a privilege to represent the community in having that conversation with him and getting that guidance, for everybody on that front. Rather than answer your questions like so directly and to point like to a specific point, because it's really hard to do that. I mean it genuinely. Like, this whole thing is beyond any living person's experience. It's an unbelievable thing. It's 102 years, since the Spanish flu. Nobody's ever experienced this, and so the whole thing is wild. But what has been outstanding is the ability to see, and in this I share it with everybody, with you and everybody else, the ability to see the resourcefulness of Klal Yisrael, of the Jewish people, whether it's what you're doing in Chicago. You've completely pivoted. Do you usually have a Sunday fireside chat, or this is like a completely new thing? Klal Yisrael needs something different, and people like you and many, 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 many people have just sat and thought and said, there was such a thing as the way we always did things, but that's not what's needed right now. And let's come up with something new. And the fount of creativity and the determination to meet the needs of the Jewish people where they are. It's just, it's an unbelievable thing. And when you're in the OU, so you get to see sort of maybe like a little bit more than others, and just the branches within the OU itself. What NCSY has transformed itself into, what the JLIC has transformed itself into, what Yachad has transformed itself into, what Kashrus has transformed itself into. Everything has learned to adapt and to generate incredible involvement in the community, both in terms of the needs, the chesed of the community, and in terms of the spiritual growth of the community. It's unbelievable. So if there's a learning moment here, it is that we have tremendous capacity and tremendous potential, Kol Yisrael, in all of its pieces and all of its units. If we could meet this challenge the way we have, there's just no end to what we can do.
It's beautiful. It sounds very interesting about how you can see so many different parts of the community, the OU, but also the general community. That is something that I think it's important for us to realize in our own community, that we should realize that we're part of a broader spectrum. It's an interesting balance that we're always striking, which is we want to, like you said at the beginning of your auras, that on the one hand, there are national resources. On the other hand, we want to be providing the local feel, the local togetherness, the local shiurim, the local programming. But going back to the national of realizing, wow, it is really amazing what people out there are accomplishing. I mean, the kashrus, I didn't really even think about that, but I guess mashgichim and RCs who have to go to various plants and who can't do that to maintain that level of kashrus, that's something I never even really thought so much about. Yeah, and I guess that's got to be a whole nother level.
It's a whole other level, and figuring out, when and how it can be maintained. The Paiskim have been very, very active, and in figuring out what can be maintained through technology and so on and so forth. It's been a big task and a very important task. And Baruch Hashem, I think they've done it very seriously and very well. So that all the kashrus agencies have to do it.
Yes, we have could check in with Rabbi Fishbane and see how the CRC is managing. Maybe to talk just for a moment, if you could, just for a little bit about the perspective of from a national standpoint of what it means to help people to feel connected. How do we, from your standpoint, for all the different things that you're seeing, any ideas for people who are watching, or for me, or for those of us who are out there, of ways for people to feel connected? Because it seems that that's one of the biggest, avenues that we're trying to build are connections. And so Zoom is one avenue, but are there other things that you've seen that people are able to stay connected and to build that yachas among people that you saw that was really remarkable, that would benefit people to know about? We had before Rabbi Eddie Davis and Rebbetzin Meira, they talked about how their kids surprised them with a Zoom of all their kids before Pesach, and they gave them a Haggadah, and how they felt like they were so connected. Any other thoughts or things that you've seen that people have done that really stay connected? I know in our neighborhood, shuls dropped off cheesecakes before Yom Tov, people knocking on doors. Anything that you've seen that would be worthwhile for people to know about, ways that they can stay connected to each other?
Look, I think that the biggest thing is this deliberate outreach, and it's the case that when we go through communal life, usually we meet people without making an effort. We bump into people, and we have relationships with people that are never intentional. Like mamish, we can go through consistently without ever being intentional. It's just, this is a person who I see, I bump into. We come to shul at more or less the same time. We sit in more or less the same area, and so we exchange words, we exchange pleasantries. Maybe there's an invitation which is extended one time or the other. There's nothing which is happening by accident now. Everyone's in their own place. And, hopefully, again, this time is winding down and we'll start bumping into each other again. But the lesson we've learned from this time is the value of reaching out to somebody intentionally. That person who you used to bump into, but now for 2 months you didn't. And Erev Shavuos, you picked up the phone and you called the person. And that intentional call made a world of a difference, way beyond all the niceties of by bumping into, because it's not by accident, it's biyadiyah, it's knowledgeable. You know, the first Rashi in Sefer Vayikra says, Vayikra el Moshe vayidaber Hashem elov. Rashi says, for every dibur, for every conversation, there was first a kriya. A kriya means that there was a designated invitation. Let's get together, and then we'll talk, because that's chiba. That's where it shows that it's dear. That's where it shows that it's meaningful. You know, there's a lot that has come to the world and to the Jewish community and to our communities from this experience, and a lot of tragedy and a lot of uncertainty and everything else, but also a lot of discovery, a lot of appreciation, and especially profoundly so in the realm of relationships of all kinds. And you know, I think one of them is this, and that's when you've seen people do it, when communities have successfully created initiatives where young people who maybe are living in houses filled with other people are reaching out to older people who are living alone, or when married people are reaching out to single people who are living alone. And we start to see the impact that has, the impact that such connections make, and have a deeper understanding of what relationship means and what loneliness means. You know, those have been the most magical initiatives that I've seen. And many Rabbanim are spending a large part of their day just, you know, picking up the phone and making those connections and calling people that they would normally have seen and said hello to and gotten a quick "how you doing?" But now, you know, it's richer. And I hope it'll be one of the legacies of this experience.
Amazing. It reminds me, and with this, I'll ask you to reflect on the last Ha'ara. Years ago, maybe 15 years ago in the shul, every year Rabbi Hauer used to have a theme for Yom Noraim. So one year I walked into the shul, I was back, I don't remember where I was, and the sign on the door was a teaching from the Piasetzner, say from the Piasetzner about the greatest thing in the world, the größte Sache in der Welt. To remind everybody that the greatest thing in the world is to do somebody a favor. And I wonder if, in light of what you're saying now, is the favor that to do someone the greatest thing in the world, you don't even have to do it, you don't have to give them anything. You just have to give them the validation, the acknowledgement, the recognition that they exist and that they mean something to you. That too could be maybe the greatest thing in the world.
100%. 100%. I have nothing to add. You said it all.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're extraordinarily busy. We really are inspired. It's so great to see you. We're really inspired by your leadership and what you are doing for Klal Yisrael, not just for the people in Baltimore and the Chevra and the Shul, but for all of us, and making a Kiddush Hashem on our behalf during this unbelievably challenging time. Does this mean you're going to have to move to New York, or you're staying put?
We're not planning to move to New York. I'll be, as I say, moving to Penn Station.
Okay. Someone said to me at some point, they're like, what is this with Baltimore shul rabbis and the leadership of the Orthodox Union? I said, Baltimore is Makom Chashuv. If you want to find people of such substance and such caliber, you have to look in a Makom Chashuv. So Hatzlacha Rabba, be gesund.
Thank you.
Love to everyone. Be well. Thank you, and be matzliach.
You too. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a great day. Take care.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
And thank you to everybody for joining us. We're going to close this morning with a brief presentation that I wanted to share with all of you. Thanks to our office for this really amazing opportunity that we have to share with you something that reflects on this year. It kind of brings us a little bit together in thinking about what we've had, but also in the opportunity of being Maker Tov to our office staff, to Daniela Schwartz, our PR person, to Tracy Schultz, our administrative assistant, to Andrea Rasheta, who works in our office, our Colo fellows, what it takes to create the programs all year. We've also had some incredible support, even during this difficult time, of people stepping up and contributing financially. So we invite everybody to to watch this brief presentation and think about how the Kollel has served and impacted and brought HaKadosh Baruch Hu into your lives and connected us with each other. For those who want to support the Kollel, it's torahchicago.org. You can catch the donate button. Yeah, this will bring us a little bit of joy, a little bit of thinking about this year as we reflect now post-Shavuos on being together.
ואילופינו מלא שירו כיום אין אנחנו מספיקים להידע אצלך להידע אצלך ואילופינו מולי שירו כיום אין אנחנו מספיקים להידע אצלך ואילופינו מולי שירו כיום ואילופינו מולי שירו כיום אין אנחנו מספיקים להידע אצלך ואילופינו מולי שירו כיום אין אנחנו מספיקים להידע אצלך ואילופינו מולי שירו כיום ואילופינו מולי שירו כיום אין אנחנו מספיקים להידע אצלך
Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Stay well. Looking forward to welcoming you this week, please God, with Rabbi Dr. Glatt, with our Siyum, with Rav Shechter Shalita, with all of our community chavrusas, with our shiurim online. Stay in touch with us by Facebook Live. You'll find everything. WhatsApp, YouTube, all the great media, email, website. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.